allowing me, inviting me to present FatPipe products here. I do want to thank folks like Greg and several others that I have met on the floor. Long-standing FatPipe customers. I think Greg is on, as he was mentioning, number 4 or number 3 replacement, which puts him at about a decade, over a decade of FatPipe products in his networks. So I really want to thank customers like Greg, who have supported us through the years and helped FatPipe be what FatPipe is today. I'm going to talk a little bit about network resiliency and the importance of it, what value FatPipe brings to a network. We are headquartered in Salt Lake City. We've been in business doing hybrid WAN connections and providing network resiliency, security, as well as the ability to stay connected all the time. If you would like a network that has an uptime all the time, that's what we are in business for. We have thousands of customers over the last 15 years, and many of them have stayed with us for a very long time. Some of them like Green Bay Packers and Dallas Cowboys, besides the government entities in public sector. There is a very large ammonia bottling company, that distribution company, global. They've been with us for over a decade as well, 15 billion in sales, and their network, wide area network, relies on FatPipe for its connectivity. Why is network reliability critical? I don't think I have to preach to all the folks who deal with it every single day. If a line goes down, if your network goes down, guess what? The phone rings. I can't get my email. I can't connect to the file server. I can't do this. I can't do that. And that's something, I'm sure, a headache that all of you would like to avoid. As we moved into the world of cloud-hosted or data center-hosted applications, the ability to connect to county-wide, city-wide, or state-wide resources is very important. During emergency, being able to communicate with all the people who are responsible for providing emergency services. Everybody is going online. If you want to register a business, you can do it in 2 hours. But the server has to be online. If it is not online, if I go to do my business renewal, and if it's offline, I call. Because once that time slot is gone, I'll get told in a month. By then the registration has expired. All these things make it really, really important for a reliable wide area network. The new WAN architecture, the reason for this conversation now, the broadband services have become inexpensive, they are reliable. You can use them as an augmentation for your MPLS circuits. You can use it as an augmentation to your fiber circuits. People are accessing Office 365 online. It's not on the desktop anymore. There is a move towards web-hosted desktop. All these things make it such that you need data center to desktop connectivity, which is not visible to the end users. They just want access. They don't care how the access comes. We just announced a partnership with Avaya, and with that we are able to extend their software-defined data center all the way to the branch offices. And that gives ease of use to your customers who are the users in your different offices. Everything looks great and sounds great when you're putting applications in the cloud. Well, if the last mile gets cut and you don't have connectivity, you have no access. So everything ultimately boils down to being connected all the time, having diversity, having the ability to use all different types of lines. MPLS is expensive. All of us are constrained by budgets. If we want to get an additional MPLS line, can the same job be done by an internet or a broadband link and provide security or control traffic over that? That will offload the traffic from your MPLS, extending the life of MPLS. Some of our products are single-ended solutions that allow you to connect any kind of link, whether it is satellite, 4G LTE, cable DSL, or MPLS, combine them together, be able to put in policies that allow different types of traffic to choose different paths, giving you the peace of mind that sensitive data is not going non-encrypted or across a broadband link. At the same time, having alternatives to your connectivity. Then we have end-to-end or bookended solutions where with MPVPN and IPVPN products, we provide sub-second failover. And in some cases, actually quite a few of the agencies or cities in North Carolina are using dark fiber, where FatPipe is in 2 locations and load balances across internet links or MPLS links in 2 different locations, while having a backup across the dark fiber that exists, which is shown in the the thick blue line between the 2 data centers. Unified communication, highly important for emergency situations, for 911 centers. We have call centers, 911 centers as customers who use the products. With sub-second failover, your voice over IP call does not fail, it fails over. There may be a little glitch that you hear, sound got dropped, however, the call will continue to function. We have built-in security features, so if you have small offices where having multiple types of devices because whether of reasons like budget or not having technical resources that can manage a firewall, that can manage a IDS, IPS appliance for inbound traffic, any kind of web filtering, we have all these functionalities built into the product. They are available as add-on features for all our products. And this was the one I was mentioning, where you can have a data center and a backup data center. If something happens to a data center, the backup data center takes over. All the VPN tunnels across all your agencies will fail over to the backup data center. I do have a funny story about this. There is a hotel chain in the Caribbean. They have many different properties on different islands. And when we first did this functionality in our product, it was specifically for them. Anytime there was a hurricane that went by, they would lose connectivity. So they said, well, we have one data center, we'll do a backup data center. Their first data center was in Miami, they put the second one in Jacksonville. Well, hurricanes do go up now. So they came up with an idea, let's have a tertiary backup, tertiary data center. They put it in Houston. And then came Hurricane Ike, I think, that went through the Caribbean, through Florida, and in Houston. And they called and said, now what do we do? I said, well, you should have thought about putting the data center in Denver. It would have been a brighter choice. But
so that's what we really need for accurate forecasting, right?
Along with that, we give you full visibility of your network where you can see what's happening across your WAN with which sites are up, which lines are being utilized more, which application is being used by your users. You don't want BitTorrent taking up all the bandwidth that should be going to voice over IP. So we have a dashboard where you get all the latest alerts, status of your network, everything is available for network performance monitoring. This slide, in one slide, has everything that we do, from connectivity to application portability across global data centers, path optimization, security, quality of service, WAN optimization with data caching and compression. Why do agencies use FatPipe for redundancy, load balancing? Optimization is one of the features that we have. Majority of the folks, when they are using thin clients, they really don't need optimization. But if you have any kind of duplicate data going across the network to different locations, it's very useful. And network security for policy-based access control, you can either have application signatures, you can have the 5-tuple, which is the IP address, port number, source destination combinations, and you can also have the SIB tabs for monitoring your quality of service. Some of our customers, FBI, Department of Defense, I think I have a list here actually. Alexander County, City of Graham, City of Burlington, City and County of Durham, Greenville Utilities, and I think he has a bigger list that he can go over since Wayne is responsible for North Carolina. And as I was mentioning, Dallas Cowboys, Green Bay Packers, Tennessee Titans. We have one in Jeff's territory too.
We have quite a few NFL teams and ball teams.
In the government institutions, Supreme Court, there is something called counterterrorism task force, which I can never find anywhere on the website, but they do exist, and they use the products.
We've actually invented some of our technology for like what the FBI and stuff like that.
Yes. So for case studies, I put together a few that describe where our products are used, which way. We have school districts, very large ones, with over 100,000 students. Online testing is very important these days. If your network goes down, online testing has to be rescheduled. And students don't like that. It's fine. My children are very unhappy if their testing is rescheduled.
You want to talk about havoc on a network? Put a bunch of students on the network.
Yeah, Wake County did that last year, and they went down during testing, and they did not use that pipe, I don't believe, but they went down during testing, and that was a fiasco.
Yeah, because they have to reschedule all 100,000 users or however many users they have for it. I had a county in Florida that had the same thing happen to them before they had purchased FatPipe, and the CIO almost lost his job over it because of the 45,000 students that had to be rescheduled. So they weren't happy.
You know,
Yeah,
he jokes about put students on the network. It's actually true. You give Wi-Fi access to students, they'll have an iPad or a tablet, they'll have a phone, they'll have a laptop. You don't know what they're bringing into your network.
Yep. And they're video gaming and YouTubing and...
In class, according to my
Like
kids.
I said, no fear.
That's called kitty hacking.
No fear. Yeah, they have no fear. They get on the network.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, one of the school districts that we deal with, in the morning when students walk in, it is concurrent 6 million sessions that are going through the product. And we just watch it. First, when we were doing the initial install and testing, we literally sat with biting our nails because this is not something you can simulate in your lab. This has to be tested in the field. And that's what having customers in the field gives us the credibility to stand up and say, yes, we can handle it. Emergency Services, World Health Organization is a customer of ours. And they have to, in case of any emergency, Haiti was a good example, when the earthquake happened, they had to bring up remote offices rapidly without any infrastructure. It was satellite links, and I think they were able to, fourth or fifth day, they were able to bring up a 3G network, so that's what they were using. They called us and said, ship us the appliances right away, and we'll take fly over with them as our teams are going, and within 4 hours they were up and running. There are many such situations that happen. You live in a hurricane-prone oceanfront area, and you are more experienced than I am in that area. However, these are real-life scenarios that have to be dealt with. When you talk about hurricane, we got a call from one of our partners that was supposed to put 10 gig lines in Washington, D.C. when President Obama was taking oath of office. Political affiliations aside, I will not talk about those. They called us and they said, we cannot pull 10 gig lines. What can you do for us? We have 1 gig lines at the convention center. So we shipped our products, and it was half of a Class A network that they configured for DXCD for 800,000 people that they were expecting, with each of them having multiple devices.
Wow.
Emergency call centers, we have customers around the globe, not just 911, other call centers as well, where they are using FatPipe products to keep their voice over IP connections and failover at sub-second failover to keep connectivity. To give you an example, when you call Microsoft, the person who's answering the phone, because of privacy concerns, is not allowed to write down your name and number. So neither does the person answering the phone has any information about you or your phone number if the line of the call drops. Results in very poor customer, when they do the survey, it's really poor customer service. So they have deployed these. We have 911 call centers that have deployed this, and we are providing sub-second failover for the voice over IP. And it so happens, I see Avaya represented here, so I have to do a pitch that all those call centers happen to be using Avaya Unified Communications. I didn't do it, they purchased it, I didn't sell it either, so. Migration to cloud services, we covered that. As you put more and more applications in the cloud, more and more need for reliable connectivity at your branch locations, at your headquarters, being able to manage things, networks easily, maintain corporate security policies. When you have broadband connections, the ability to send traffic to cloud-hosted security services, being able to encrypt partial traffic. The traffic going over the TLS link does not need to be encrypted. The traffic going over broadband needs to be encrypted. You have services from social security agencies where privacy is very important. Personal information cannot be sent unencrypted. You are doing any kind of financial transaction. To meet PCI compliance, you have to put in security, and we help you achieve those. Our products are FIPS 140 compatible. Testing is in process. We hope to have FIPS 140 certification by end of December. being able to rapidly deploy. Not all branches. I would assume that many of the agencies have small offices in remote locations where providers are not very easily available. I was talking to the court system in New Mexico. There is only one provider with MPLS. They do not have any other alternative. At any given day, his comment was 2 of my sites are down on any given day, and that is a lot of stress for any IT manager. And he has to work on bringing those networks up. So we have a proposal out to them where we are using 4G LTE as a backup link so that they can have reliability in their network. The ability to, it is talked about, which is the ability to augment your MPLS links with broadband and LTE. LTE has become very prevalent and is available not just in the US but globally, and it's being used more and more for communications, network communications. That's about all I wanted to present. If there are any questions, please feel free. We ask for your business.
What's that? Thanks, Sancho. So how do I get to the other one?
You gotta change it
So I'm playing fill-in today. Our other company that was here, our sister company, Stay in Business, is a disaster recovery solutions, cloud-hosted program. And the gentleman that was supposed to be here had a personal thing come up and could not make it. So I get to fill in and try to do my best as far as helping him out as far as the business continuity for in the event of a disaster and making sure that you have your plan set up properly. Obviously, the old-fashioned way of setting up a disaster plan would be obviously have somebody in your organization, whether it's HR, your IT director, make a book and set up things to do and print it out, make sure you have this book available in the event of a hurricane or a first-person shooter or whatever that disaster is for the scenario. The problem with doing it the old-fashioned way is it's a book. It's obviously obsolete the minute you print it because an employee quit, an employee got hired. So this business continuity cloud service program that we offer through Stay in Business will have all the templates set up for you. It's just merely filling out the information to fit your business plan and setting the information in play. So since it's a cloud-hosted solution, you can either obviously print out a book, bring it with you, or access it in an emergency situation via internet. It also uses other forms of contacting your employees, whether it be a text message, which is a really nice solution. That way, it does a couple things for you. It'll activate their GPS in their cell phone to let them know that A, they're out of the disaster zone, or they're in a safe zone when they check in. So you know they're not in danger, their family's not in danger. It'll notify and give the emails and text messages to the employee and tell them what they're supposed to do. So if they have specific tasks, it automatically notifies them if they forgot their training from 2 years ago or whatever the case is. So with it being a cloud solution, it's always accessible. Yes, in obviously a hurricane situation, you're going to have problems with getting to the internet and stuff like that. But because LTE and 4G is going to be the first to be restored, and even faster with government, you're going to be one of the first people to get access to that information, get that out to your employees, and you still have that backup of that paper to handle it as well. And so what's nice about this is it's already set up all your templates for you. Once you set up the original business plan, it just gets updated by the HR department. As employees leave, it takes them out of the system. As they hire new employees, it puts them in the system. And if you've given somebody a different task, you just change it in the hosted solution, and in the event of an emergency, it's already there. So the main thing with this is not having an obsolete plan the minute that you actually need a plan. I mean, let's face it, just a couple weeks ago, this Hurricane Matthew that came through and raised havoc on the Caribbean, all of Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, it took a lot of people by storm. I mean, I'm originally from Jacksonville, Florida myself, and Jacksonville hasn't been hit in over 45 years. So there's a lot of my friends that were caught off guard still hanging out on the beach when they shouldn't have been in the mandatory evacuation, because it's just passed by us so many times. There was a lot of flooding, a lot of damage, and luckily we didn't lose any lives there, but there were quite a few lives that were lost in that storm throughout the Caribbean and parts of America as well. And we're still dealing with the aftermath in South Carolina. We were at a show last week, and South Carolina has lots of problems still. Even some parts of North Carolina are obviously still recovering, along with Florida all the way down, So it's definitely something to think about. No one wants to really put in the effort to do a business plan. Think about this. Here's the problem with the paper solution. You still have to go back there and update that all the time. This is much better because of the fact that you're just in the system setting it up. Yes, sir.
So just to kind of touch on something, especially with the hurricane that just came through, but as we primarily have an IT audience. So we know that, from an information technology perspective, we've got disaster recovery. We know how to get our data back should we lose our primary data center. We have those plans in place. But do you work with the rest of the government enterprise around, insurance information for all the employees? Who's dedicated to take on very specific tasks, during a hurricane? Who's going to be in charge of the public safety component in this area? Who do we need to dispatch here? If we can't get a hold of our primary person that's in lead for this particular task, is there a backup? Who is that backup? How do you identify that backup? From an IT perspective, do you folks currently work with those other components of your government agency?
We try to.
Right.
I will tell you, they just redid our plan last year,
Okay.
and I'm not in the plan.
See, it's already obsolete.
Well,
No, I'm not in the plan because they didn't decide that IT was important enough to be part of the
Oh, so
plan.
your IT department's not even
Not
in the plan?
Well, see, that's converged to just about everything,
Right.
because most of the time they think IT is all the only DR plan.
That's right.
Yeah, that's totally the opposite. I hear that more than
No, no, no.
anything.
Exactly.
No, they have a plan, they call the police department, they call the fire department, they call, city government about, getting the power back on. And they were all up there on Sunday at Hurricane Matthew, and the power went out to the building.
Right?
Right.
Now what do you do?
Right.
So,
I wasn't there because I'm not part of the plan, which is part of the problem. They don't see the two as being connected.
Well,
Right,
and that's,
and I think that's the key.
that's the key with this too, is it's designed to go throughout the whole department and the whole city and county to actually bring it all together, because it has those pieces to it that you have to go get those answers for in order to make that plan visible and effective. You have to go to the IT department and find out what that is. Well, they also have all the information that you need as well.
Two things.
yeah, it's kind of to your point, and again, obviously this is a very timely session. I'm the IT director for a behavioral health managed care organization that covers 23 counties, all of them on the coast of North Carolina, all of them somehow impacted by Hurricane Matthew, with 8 offices
Sure.
located. We were very fortunate. Our data center is in Wilmington, but we've got a fairly robust setup there in terms of that, so we were fine. IT is the only thing that worked during Matthew.
Well, because it's really the only department that really focuses on disaster.
Well, you know, and it was part of a byproduct of multiple consolidation and mergers, and, you know, and Brian knows that, because Brian and I we were both part of the organizations that combined to merge, and so because of all that, we couldn't get anybody outside of IT to focus or even have this discussion. And so it just died. I mean, it just went away. But you know, we were not going to do that. So I made sure that we had an updated IT disaster recovery plan. I made sure that we made sure that our infrastructures were in place. And again, you know, we went through it without a blip. You know, we were fortunate. And then just last Thursday, we had a mandatory executive and management team meeting in Greenville to discuss the lessons learned. You know, and so there was a little frustration there. You know, because yeah, a whole lot of the after the fact stuff, and I, you know, biting my tongue and really resisting emanating "I told you so" from my very being, you know, throughout the room. But again, you know, the one thing is that IT was the only thing that worked.
Yeah.
So
it's the only department that actually focuses on a disaster. The rest of them don't even want to be involved in it because it usually drops on HR's department and they don't care. I mean, if they put out the book, no one's going to read it. So I don't know if it's right or not anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
And also when people leave, you know, if somebody leaves, you have to update it. Who has the time to go through it? Every time HR goes through a conversation with someone, oh, you're leaving, okay, what were your responsibilities? Nobody ever thinks of asking, were you doing for anything for disaster planning or disaster response?
Sure, it's done once and forgotten about, and that's the problem.
Till something happens.
So yeah, that'd be, but you know, no, I'm sorry, but that again. So
Now, believe me, I'm not the sales rep in this
Yeah, I
company,
know, but
so
so
having
that would be-
open discussion is much easier for me than trying to give a presentation on this.
Yeah, so look, there was one other
We
insight.
all know our skill sets, right?
Yeah,
one
it's
other
not.
insight. We just recently have a new CIO come on board, and we were talking about this very thing, because he literally came on board 2 days before Matthew came.
Oh, wow.
So naturally, you know, I'm the director for infrastructure and service desk. You know, my office is like right down there from him, right behind the data center. And he's a very patient guy. And of course, you could see he was standing at the door going, I know nothing about what do we have. Please tell me. And I said, oh yeah, we're fine. And I pulled out the IT disaster plan. I read everything we've done. I told him all the preparations. He's like, he just kind of like took this. He goes, because I'm going to tell you, you know, he used to be the chief technology officer for a large training area in Cary. And he had having a conversation with one of his counterparts one day. And he asked him, he said, well, you know, talk about disaster plans. He goes, well, do you know what step one of my disaster plan is? He said, what? He goes, tender my resignation. Because, I mean, you're not going to have a job because it didn't go well. I'm not going to have a job because we're wiped out. I just tendered my resignation and the next day.
Problem solved.
So, not my problem.
I think what my point where I was really trying to get to is, you know, from an IT perspective, for the most part, your constituents, your peers, you all have this figured out. And there is that discommunication between the rest of the government enterprise and IT. But yet, when government enterprise needs something, another department needs something, they'll come to IT and say, help me do this, enable this for me. So essentially, FatPipe, by spinning off or creating Stay in Business, taking the electronic media in order for you to take the enterprise-wide, not just IT. So now what we have is the offer to you guys, a tool that you can now go to those other entities and say, look, you know, we've got this 7,000-page binder that you lay down and say, bring me the section that's going to tell what public safety has to do if this road washes out. The 6,000 residents that's on the other end of that with no way to get out. They're not going to find it, right? You flip over and say, we can enable that right here. We can actually alert, give you very specific information on what to do. So, you know, when I first saw this product a few months ago, being delivered by FatPipe, I got really excited. I've been in the IT world, I've been an IT admin, I've been you know, in business for 20 years out here. And I see this product, and there's been so many times over the years I've looked and I thought, man, I wish I had, right? And then they brought it to the table, and I was like, this is incredible. This is going to save time, it's going to save money, but more importantly, it's going to save lives. Because if you can actually take the plan, roll that out to the people that need to know, your public safety officers, whether it's sheriff, police, emergency medical services, fire department, and they have this information in real time, that you need to be here, here's your location. We can also geolocate, know where they're at to make sure they're safe, but able to continually poll their safety while they're helping everyone else out there, and then have a very task-oriented plan that's digital, that can be updated very quickly. It makes sense. And IT has the ability to take that to the rest of
I'm
the
sorry?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt. Is it patterned off of, say, the National Incident Command System structures?
So-
Taken from, now,
Go
the
ahead,
three
Sasha.
of us got trained on this like 2 hours before
Okay,
this
yeah, no. I'm
meeting.
sorry.
So
Yeah,
what I was
just-
going to say, I think they're taken from FEMA, as well as I think there are 2 other federal agencies that put out guidelines for what the requirements for disaster planning are, and it has all of those built in.
Right, and it has all the protection in there for, all the sensitive data that you are gonna have obviously in there, whether it be social security numbers, your policy numbers. It's going to have everything that your company needs to still stay in business the next day. So it's just a way to house it all safely and effectively to make sure that if there is a disaster, everything's still running smoothly. Or at least you can go pick up the pieces and start all over.
And FatPipe has always believed in disaster prevention rather than disaster recovery. Ever since we started talking in the world of networking, we always called it disaster prevention. Once a disaster happens
It's too
and
late.
you are scrambling, it's too late. Plan ahead, be prepared.
And that's kind of how SIB, or staying in business, is spun off of FatPipe, because so many of our clients are putting in those disaster recovery sites. And we felt that there was a real need for it because no one does anything but the IT department. The rest of the departments are the ones that rely on you to do it. And it may or may not get done. That's up to you, But at least this is a tool that you can give to your staff and have them take care of their portions of it, and it all get tied back together in the event of, and it's always updated. So because everybody's responsible for their piece of the pie, they have to input the information. We also have the people that are on staff to help you with that plan to be tailored to that organization, whether it be government or personal or corporate or what have you. So it's not like you're still taking the software and just having to input information. We're going to help you with templates. If you need custom templates, we're going to help you develop those as well. That's one thing that's really made FatPipe successful over the last 26 years is we're only as good as our clients that bring us the information. I've seen it time and time again that if we need something or our client needs something, we help them develop it to make our product obviously better for them, but it also helps us stay in business, as far as the future as well. I don't know how many times many of my clients have tried to break something that we have, and we go out there and figure out how to fix it.
Yeah, it's like a K-12 model. My data center uploaded over 2 weeks ago.
You're saying this is through
We're
any
not
type
saying
of
what the
vertical.
county would be for
This
each
is all
one.
verticals. This is all verticals. It doesn't matter if it's medical, K-12, higher ed, government, federal
There are
government, what
templates
have
that
you.
are available for.
Yeah, we've got one pipeline coming in our data center now is in Pleasant. So, we are trying to find a secondary site, and our concern is the second pipeline coming in. So,
Yeah, so we'll take both of those with separate ISPs and load balance the traffic. In the event of a failover, we'll fail over from FatPipe to FatPipe in sub-seconds to your disaster site, picking up all the DNS records, keeping, as long as obviously you have mirroring servers and you have everything in place, but we will keep you up that 100% of the time. And this is in sub-seconds. Some of our technology is so seamless and fast that if we were doing a video conference call from the United States to, let's say, England, where we have high latency issues or what have you like that, we will actually video conference in the event of a line failure or a line saturation. We'll fail over utilizing the other connections and not drop that video conference call without duplication of records.
And you have lots of K through 12 customers.
Yeah, lots of K through 12.
Lots of K through 12.
Yeah, the data center stayed up, but everything in the bottom, right?
Yeah, I have several big school districts in Florida that are using 10 gigs now of traffic with 40,000 plus students on them, and aggregating multiple large pipes. We do so much more than that as well. I mean, we're basically a packet shaper. This is a way to control your network dynamically. Think of FatPipe as a master controller for the network. So I know we got off subject there again, but so obviously business continuity, keeping the network up, then disaster recovery. This is the part where SIB really helps you out, is the after effect of, do we have those insurance policies in place and access to who we need to contact, the policy numbers in place, the right people to stay in touch with, making sure that we have the information there easily available to find it if it didn't blow away, burn down, whatever the case is. So having all of this information up to date is obviously the key to it. Communication deployment, and this is obviously where we're sending out the text messages to your employees, we're sending out the emails to your employees, making sure that they're still safe and sound, and making sure that they're getting their portion of the job done that they probably forgot about. I have no idea what this slide's about.
Implementation. Looks like
It's
implementation.
honest.
Yeah, so really the key is
It's
you can
really-
actually manage through this one
You know, it's when you
application.
forgive him.
Multiple, you can actually manage the multiple locations and facilities and the personnel that's responsible to accomplish these tasks. But it's all done through a single dashboard. Right, so within this dashboard, I could actually have a DSS over here, I could have public safety, fire, so on and so forth. And we can manage from a central dashboard every task that each person is responsible for within their teams or their group of responsibility. As they're completing those tasks and updating, we're seeing that in real time. So having the online registration account management is actually from a single dashboard across the entire teams for whatever the particular component is, whether it's in a small town or whether it's actually at a state level that's governed across, multiple counties and multiple cities. So this can actually be deployed from a state solution all the way down to the small town.
Me?
Yeah, small town. So it really could be to where the state could manage this process
40 employees.
and each individual, township, county could manage their own component of it. So
If
it
you
has
can get that
kind
many people to talk together.
Right, it has that kind of capability to be able to deploy.
Yeah. And then that's why you surround yourself with people that are better than you. It's like Steve bailing me out here.
Well, I'm a FatPipe partner and have been for quite a while. And like I said, I got really enthusiastic over this product.
Oh my gosh, he called me and he's like, you're never gonna believe this. This is the best.
Yeah, it is.
It just makes life easy. That's the real.
Well, it protects your people, it protects the assets, it protects the citizens at the end. So, you've got pre-disaster capabilities that you can deploy, in-disaster capabilities that you can actually deploy, and post-disaster capabilities in the system. So, when you think about it, everybody tries to rush out to mass evacuate, hard-hit areas to get the people out. That's got to be managed, right? You need to be alerted. It needs to be able to tie into the weather systems, to the emergency response system, so on and so forth. And if you've got that capabilities digitally today, to be able to actually post it and activate that, we're on a high alert, this is what we have to do. And when you activate it, and it disseminates that information via text and email to those parties that are responsible to run each activity, You're gonna save lives, honestly, you're gonna save lives.
Well, that's faster than any one person could do it, or any group
Right.
of people could do it.
Yeah, I mean, I could go back to books that, I've written over the years in exactly this kind of scenario, and I couldn't tell you where to find the particular thing that I need to do at any given time, because it's on page 2012, and it's paragraph 4, and I don't remember that. So I'm looking at the index, and I'm like, okay, this is the section, and then I'm sitting there, I'm a Tennessee educated guy, University of Tennessee, and I do not read as fast as some of the other folks. So if I can actually, control F, keyword, boom, there it is, that's what I want, that's what I'm doing. So,
And simple things, I'll equate that to IT. When Katrina hit Louisiana, all the federal payroll processing was done in New Orleans. I guess they had a very strong senator and a congressperson. They got the data center and the processing capability. When Katrina hit, the processing center went down. Their backup was in Philadelphia, and it had a T1 line as the connection. Now, can you imagine all the payroll for entire federal government is being uploaded on a single T1 line?
Oh.
And it took weeks to recover from Katrina. Well, we haven't recovered fully, but to get the infrastructure back up. I happened to be in DC when I forget the name of the agency that does the processing. And they said, we don't know what to do. We need bandwidth augmentation. But nobody planned on disaster of that magnitude. Nobody planned how an entire federal government's payroll will be processed over a T1 link when you have to upload it to different banks. You can do processing in your servers, but you got to upload it to the banks for automatic deposits.
Right. Yeah, you'd think
One
they'd
T1
had
line.
problems way before that.
So those are the type of planning that, once you start putting a plan in place, it is a conversation starter. You start a conversation and you start finding places where you actually need to do planning that affects people in their lives every day.
How are we doing on time? We good? Okay, it's beer o'clock.
it is beer o'clock.
See me at the bar, I'll buy the first beer.
You heard, you need to find which part he's going.
You have retired sailors.
You've obviously not partied with me.
Yeah, he is actually at every bar.
You have 2 retired sailors in here, so you'll be cautious with that.